So, welcome again. Welcome, Gareth.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to hand over to you in a moment. Can I pray for you before you start?
Of course.
Father God, I thank you for my mate Gareth. I thank you that he said yes to come in to tell us something of his story. And I ask, God, that you would be able to speak through him, that you would be able to allow us to listen well and to hear something of who you are and how you love people and can interact with them. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Tom. Well, first off, I've got a bit of a confession to make. Tom rang me on Tuesday to say, everything all right for Sunday? And I'll be honest, I didn't think I'd said I was going to do this tonight. So Tom
I convinced you, didn't I?
So Tom was like, oh, I've got you down for Sunday. So he's done quite well there. So well done, Tom. That was quite impressive. But no, thank you for the invite. It's lovely to be here. Lovely to meet you all. My name's Gareth. I'm 34, although I look about 56. Hopefully you've gathered from the accent that I am from Liverpool. I'm the oldest of 3 brothers, although I'm not the tallest. My middle brother is towers above me. I'm married to Elizabeth. We've been married for 5 years this year. 5 years. Tom and Nina were at my wedding. I'm a dad to Sarah, and we're the owner of a dog, or for anyone who's actually got a dog, you'll know it's the other way around. The dog owns us. And you will have noticed I've got a dog collar on. I'm a curate at All Saints and St Aidan's Church in Speke in South Liverpool. But Tom and I have known each other for a long time as friends, and we train together. So it's lovely to be here. So I thought this evening I'd just share a little bit of my story, a bit about my faith journey growing up. And when I was thinking about this for this evening, a bit of a pattern emerged about telling God what my plans were, and then God actually going, actually, no, these are my plans for you, so let's work with them instead. So hopefully you'll pick that up as we go on. So I grew up in Chilwell when I was younger, and then moved to Garston, where I spent most of my teenage years. I went to secondary school in Egbert, the same school as Tom, although Tom's a couple of years older than me, but we won't remind him of that. You have got more hair, that is also true. School was good for me, although I didn't achieve particularly well. I did okay in GCSEs and then completely failed my A-levels, but I'll come on to that in a few minutes. So for me, growing up, the church was always a part of my life. My mum and dad are Christians. We grew up going to church. We didn't know anything other than going to church on a Sunday morning. And church for us was at the centre of absolutely everything. Our youth groups, children's groups, all our social activities all revolved around our church. We had a group called Cypher, which was Christian Youth Fellowship Association, and there was a group of about 30 of us, all my age, and everything revolved around that. I was confirmed at the age of 14, so that was when I made the promises that my mum and dad had made for us. I made those myself because I was baptised as a child, so at 14 I made those decisions for myself. But like I say, everything revolved around church. All our, I think, 4 or 5 nights a week I was involved in stuff in the church. So, as I said before, God's plans and my plans were maybe not quite the same. So going through secondary school, I decided, right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be an electrical engineer. I've got it all sussed. This is great. And then GCSEs came, did okay. Then A-levels came, and I didn't do okay. I completely failed and got a U, which is unclassified in the subjects that I needed. So it was like, oh, right, what am I going to do now? What's going to happen here? So I thought, right, okay, what do I do? And as I say, I was a Christian at that point, so turned to God and said, God, what on earth do I do here? I've failed, my plans just completely fallen apart. And I didn't really hear a massive answer, to be honest, at that point. I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to have a year out. I'm going to have to maybe think about what I do. And at that point, a friend of mine said, well, I'm going over to Ireland for 2 weeks to do a youth mission. Do you fancy coming along? Now, this was to one of the roughest housing estates in outer Dublin. And I thought, really? Really? Is that what you think spending summer would be a good thing doing? But I thought, yeah, okay, actually, I've got nothing better to do. So I went over to Ireland, to a place called Tallaght, on the outskirts of Dublin. And when I was there, I met some incredible kids and young people who had absolutely nothing. And we ran a children's summer school, a summer activities club, and I fell in love with doing that kind of work. I thought, do you know what? God's telling me something here. And a Bible passage stuck out to me back then, and it still does now, and it's Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. And I felt like God said, right, this is the kind of thing that I want you to do. I want you to work with children and young people. But that was completely different to what I'd had planned in my life. I was going to be an engineer, it was going to go off, I was going to earn big money, and then it was like, no, you're not, you're going to go and be a youth worker. So I flew home from Dublin. There's my dad. Mum and dad were on holiday, they picked me up to join them. And my dad picks me up from the airport, and we're driving along the motorway, and I said, oh yeah, Dad, I think I know what I'm going to be. I'm not going to bother trying to redo my exams and be an engineer. I'm going to be a youth worker. Well, he nearly crashed the car. He was like, oh, that's a bit different. But he fully supported it, and so did my mum and dad. And then the next thing was we're looking at degree courses, and I found a course, but still decided to have the year out, earn some money, and get ready for and get some more experience. So I did. I started at Chester University, and again, having failed at academia, I thought, oh, this is going to be interesting. Trying to do something in university, but we got there, and I did my first placement in a church in South Liverpool in a very well-off area, and it was great. I enjoyed it, but it still didn't quite feel right. So I thought, okay. Moved on to a second placement in a place called Toxteth. Everyone heard of Toxteth? Yeah, okay. So all I knew about Toxteth at this point was that it was meant to be really rough, that it was full of scallies, and that's where the riots were. Now, forgive me, anyone who might be watching from Toxteth, I don't think that now. I was an idiot. And I said, absolutely not. There is no way I am going to Toxteth. God, you are having a laugh. I'm not going. End of story. I'm not going. But then the university said, well, if you don't go, then you're not going to complete your course, because this is the placement we've got for you, and this is where you're going. So I was like, right, okay, I'm going to have to say yes then, aren't I? So said yes, and best thing that ever happened to me. Absolutely fell in love with the people, with the place, and with the job that I was doing there. So another Bible passage that jumped out when I was thinking about this before is Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding. In all of your ways submit to him, and he'll make your paths straight. So I'd gone from thinking this place was absolutely terrifying, no way was I going there, and God said, yes you are, and it was absolutely right. So there was me, again, I'd said to God, oh, love it, thank you God, this is amazing, this is where I should be, brilliant. So I thought, right, I'm set here, this is where I'm going to stay. And then after a couple of years, I thought, yeah, let's go for this, let's see if I can get a job. But God had other ideas. The job that I had came to an end, and there was no funding for it, much as we tried. There was no additional funding, even though we'd set up a really good detached youth work team out in the area on a Friday and a Saturday night, where we met with young people out on the streets to try and reduce antisocial behaviour. We'd done all sorts of really good work, but the money just dried up. So unfortunately, so did the job, which then led to me looking around for jobs, and I actually ended up back in the well-off area where I'd said no, but working not for the church. So I ended up working for a youth centre that worked with all the young people who were from the fringe areas of Woolton where there wasn't the affluence. And I was there for 10 years, up until a couple of years ago. And then again, I said to God, this is great. I'd love this. I think I can see myself staying here. And then people started saying, well, no, I think it's time you started thinking about being a vicar. I was like, no, that's definitely not happening. There is absolutely no way on this earth that I am going to be a vicar. There's no way. I'm not good enough. I'm definitely not doing another degree course. And why on earth would God want me to be a vicar? There is no chance. So parked that one, put it on the back burner, said, no, that's not happening. But couldn't get away from this niggling feeling in the back of my head that actually maybe I need to explore it a little bit more. So I think it was in 2012 or 2013, I went to a Christian summer festival event. It was down in a place called Shepton Mallet. I went to an event called Soul Survivor. And on one of the afternoons, there was a talk on about what being a vicar involves. So I thought, right, I'm going to go to this, because then I can definitely say, this is not happening. This is just a complete no. The problem was I went and I came away with more questions and with more of a vision of thinking, well, maybe I could actually do that. So that was a bit of a problem, because I'd gone in with this definite no, this is not happening, God, don't you dare, to, oh, what's going on here? So I spoke to our curate at the time. She was on the trip as well. And I said, will you just pray? And if it's right, then okay, we'll see what happens. So she did, and I didn't hear an answer. So I thought, right, that's okay, that's fine. This is a no then. But people kept saying, no, it's definitely the right thing. I was like, it's not. God said it's not, because he's not answered the prayer. It's not happening. What I didn't see was that was part of God's plan, and that he'd put people in alongside me to give me a bit of a nudge to explore it more. So a couple of years later, and it did take 2 years to get an answer, I was sat leading a small group meeting, and there was a lady there who I'd only met a couple of months before, and she turned around and stopped me and said, so when are you going to be a vicar? And it hit me like a bullet between the eyes that this person who didn't know anything about me, she'd only met me 3 or 4 times, just knew it. And then around that time as well, I had met the girl I married. I met her parents. Her dad is a vicar, and he pulled my now wife Elizabeth aside and said, so is Gareth training to be a vicar then? And I was like, oh, please. So again, God had a plan, but it took me a little while to recognize that God had a plan for my life that wasn't the plan that I thought. Now, you'd think that for the 3 or 4 occasions in my life where I'd said I've got a plan and told God, I'd have learnt my lesson by then. But no, I hadn't. So God has kept through my life just saying, no, listen to me, put your trust in me. This is my plan for your life. So it was a huge thing, because nothing's ever felt more right to me now than doing what I'm doing now. But I thought that was the case when I was doing youth work. But in looking back, even though it was amazing and I loved every minute of it, it was never the right place, so it was for a time. So to move on, I had to take the leap of faith, trust in God, and that meant giving up a job. I had to give up a salary whilst I trained. Now, for those, like Tom will know, the training grant that you get when you're training to be a minister is not a lot. So I'd just got married at this point, and then our first child came along. So trying to do that on a training budget was not easy. But again, God put everything in place to make that happen. And in Matthew 26 it says, Jesus looked at them and said, with man this is impossible, but with God all things are possible. Now, I'm not really academic at all. As you heard, I failed at school, managed to just scrape through university the first time, but went back to college. It was terrifying, but I trusted God. I trusted that he had a plan for my life, and what felt impossible was possible. And I think here I am today, sitting before you. So that's my story, really.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Gareth.
Thank you.
there were bits in it. I'm like, that was that person. I know that person.
Yeah. This is
And
the
peace
problem
in-
being invited by somebody that you've known for a very long time. He knows all of this and every person who I've talked
Well,
about.
I was. There's a few people I don't know, so I might bend you in a moment. What we do now, though, we usually have a little buzz around the tables for 5 or 10 minutes, and you can chat about Gareth behind his back. Just turn your back, Gareth, and then I'll turn the camera off. We won't be recording, and then we can open the floor up for any questions, whether it's specific to Gareth or you want to ask any bigger questions as well. We're always up for that, aren't we, Javier?
Yes, we are.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
So, over to you lot.